Hare Krishna, dear devotees. You are all welcome in today's session where we are sharing gems from Srimadbhagavatam. And today is a beautiful verse from the 6th canto, chapter 3, verse 19, where we understand what is real religion. Hare Krishna Devi, would you like to share?
Privilege to have shared important verses from Srimad Bhagavatam, and we are at 6th canto right now. So Prabhuji, this particular canto, 6th canto, is very popular actually because a lot of devotees can relate very closely to the pastime of Ajamil and Vishnu Dutas and the conversation between Yamaraj and the Yamdutas. So, am I right? We are going to do the verse from chapter 3 today, where
Yes.
Yamraj instructs his messengers. When Yamraj, okay, so I don't want to give away the the introduction part. So please go ahead, Prabhuji. Let's start with the prayers.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please join us for the invocation prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriyet Shravatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shamana Kirtanaha Hridayantastho Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suhasatam Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagvat Sevaya Bhagavatir Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavti Neshtiki. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So today we are covering this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 3rd chapter, verse 19. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavad pranitam nave vidur rishyo napi devaha na siddha mukhya sura manushyaha kutonu vidyadhara charnadhayaha. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Real religious principles are enacted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although fully situated in the mode of goodness, even the great rishis who occupy the topmost planets cannot ascertain the real religious principles, nor can the demigods or the leaders of Siddhalok. To say nothing of the asuras, ordinary human beings, Vidyadharas and Charanas. Hare Krishna. Devi, would you like to read the purport?
When challenged by the Vishnu Dutas to describe the principles of religion, the Yam Dutas said, Veda Pranihito Dharma. The religious principles are the principles enacted in Vedic literature. They did not know, however, that the Vedic literature contains ritualistic ceremonies that are not transcendental, but are meant to keep peace and order among materialistic persons in the material world. Real religious principles are Nistraya above the three modes of material nature, or transcendental. The Yamdutas did not know these transcendental religious principles, and therefore, when prevented from arresting Ajamil, they were surprised. Materialistic persons who attach all their faith to the Vedic rituals are described in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 42, wherein Krishna says, Vedavadarata Partha Nanyad Astiti Vadina. The supposed followers of Vedas say that there is nothing beyond the Vedic ceremonies. Indeed, there is a group of men in India who are very fond of Vedic rituals, not understanding the meaning of these rituals, which are intended to elevate one gradually to the transcendental platform of knowing Krishna. Vedascha sarver aham eva vedya. Those who do not know this principle but who simply attach their faith to the Vedic rituals are called Vedavadarata. Herein it is stated that real religious principle is that which is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That principle is stated in Bhagavad Gita. Sarvadharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja. One should give up all other duties and surrender unto the lotus feet of Krishna. That is the real religious principle everyone should follow. Even though one follows Vedic scriptures, one may not know this transcendental principle, for it is not known to everyone. To say nothing of human beings, even the demigods in the upper planetary systems are unaware of it. The transcendental religious principle must be understood from the Supreme Personality of Godhead or from his special representative, as stated in next verses. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Devi. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please join us in reciting Prabhupada Pranati to seek blessings from Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatayine Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tadaham Vande Shri Gurum Dina Taranam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So today we are presenting this verse with the acronym REAL, R-E-A-L. So again, we have to understand that when we use acronyms, it's just so that we can remember things easily, right? And today's verse is helping us understand what is real religion. That is the core point. We all have to understand what is real religion. And how do we understand? So the acronym only helps us. So again, we have to understand that the real religion is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So when we see the state laws, they come from state. But when we talk about the spiritual laws, they come from the state of the Absolute, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. And in this acronym REAL, R stands for religion defined by the divine, by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. And it's clearly laid out in Bhagavad Gita, further shown by the examples of devotees and Lord himself in the 10th canto and his various incarnations across different cantos as how to carry out these laws. So again, what are the laws? You find it in Bhagavad Gita. So when you read Bhagavad Gita, we understand. And in the purpose, Srila Prabhupada reveals that sometimes there are people who are Vedvadarta. They have rati, means they have attachment to carry out, attraction to carry out various rituals as per the Vedas. And Lord Krishna's instruction to Arjuna was, Te gunya vishya veda nester gunyo bhavarjuna. So he is saying that these Vedas are, incorporating all other aspects of the three modes of material nature. They are dealing with the three modes of material nature. But we have to rise above these three modes of material nature. And how can we rise? How can we follow those instructions that are given in Bhagavad Gita? By understanding, by studying Srimadbhagavatam, by looking at the examples of the various devotees and various personalities. Sometimes people talk about Ajamil was such a sinful man, right? But do you know, Ajamil got amazing blessings because he helped many great spiritualists at his time. Lomasha Rishi is one of them. So I have already talked about this many times in the past that Lomasha Rishi was getting very strong itching. And then he wanted to get some relief. And he asked his friend, Parvat, when he said, well, you have to eat, you're too pure for your body. That's why your body is having this itch. To remove this itch, you have to eat, some impurity is required. Some mixing is required because you're in the material world. And so you have to eat the remnants of the most sinful man. Yes, who's the most sinful man? His friend said, well, Ajamil is. And when he went to Ajamil's home, the prostitute, who was living with Ajamil, she was taking care of a baby at that time. And she saw a sadhu at the doorstep. Even in such a sinful state, this was the most sinful person at whose doorstep a sadhu or rishi appears, and she is immediately respectful. Srila Prabhupada says that yes, a king is honored and respected in his kingdom. But a sadhu, a learned person who knows the supreme spiritual laws, means enacted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is respected everywhere. So she immediately got up and asked, what does he want? He said that, give me some remnants of Ajamil. And she thought, Ajamil is such a sinful man. How can I give him? She bought some nice, pure, grains and vegetables and said, no, I want remnants, some leftovers that Ajamil had. And she said, how can I give you? He's very sinful. He said, well, that is exactly what I want. Can you give me that? And she said, okay. Not to upset the sage, she agreed to bring some remnants. He had taken his breakfast, there was something remaining. And when Lomasha Rishi just took one bite, the itching went away and he was happy, contented. He turned back, he was walking away. But then he said, you know what? I took some service from this lady, the prostitute who's living with the Jamil, and I should give, return some kind of favor. So he came back and he said, looking at the baby in her, lap, he said, what's his name? She said, oh, she gave some mundane name. He's like, don't call him that, call him Narayan. And that's how the baby was named Narayan, the youngest boy. And when he was just a little over 2 years old, Yamdutas appeared. And at that time, Ajamil, he was so attached to his son that fearing that the son could be harmed, he said, Narayan, Narayan. And what happened? He was immediately, by this remembrance from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by the effect, because Lord Krishna, what does he say? Sarvasya chaham hridya sannivishto matta smitir jnanam apohanam cha. He's saying, from me comes, Sarvasya chaham hridya sannivishto. I am residing in the heart of all living entities. And from me comes Smriti, remembrance, Jnanam, knowledge, and Apohanam, even forgetfulness. So he had forgotten, Ajamil had forgotten about Narayan, but when he was calling his son Narayan, he was reminded of Lord Narayan, and the Vishnu Dutas appeared. Lo, behold, Yamdutas, somebody could say, yes, they were outnumbered, but not just physically or in numbers, but also qualitatively. Because the Yamdutas were talking about Vedas, the Vedic principles, which are based on the three modes of material nature. Most of it, 99.99% of Vedas, they deal with the three modes of material nature. It's only a very small section that talks about the Supreme Personality of Godhead and our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and how we can go back home, back to Godhead. And if you're thinking which particular section in Vedas, yes, Ishupnishad is part of Yajurveda. So right there, you can actually read Ishupnishad and you can understand that, yes, there is some transcendental knowledge present. Yet at the same time, most of it is dealing with the three modes of material nature. And Ajamil was able to get service. This, it was a privilege, unknowingly. He was not even aware that the name Narayan of the baby was actually given by Lomasha Rishi. He just said, a sage came and the prostitute who lives with me, she said that I should name him Narayan. He named him Narayan and he was calling Narayan very lovingly. Narayan, come sit here. Narayan, eat this. Narayan, drink this. Narayan, talk to me. He was playing with and calling out Narayan, Narayan, Narayan. And that was purifying him unknowingly. Srila Prabhupada says that when we take medication, we may not know what are the chemicals in the medication and how the medication works when it enters our body. But that is not the criteria for the medication to be effective. It will have its effectiveness if we just follow the proper, guidance and directions given by the doctor as per the prescription. If you just follow that, then it will show its effect. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada says chanting has the same thing. Chanting is to purify our consciousness. Sometimes people say, mind does not matter and don't matter the mind. So again, mind does matter because it is through mind that we can get out of this material world. Mind matters. Sometimes material is right, and sometimes people, they're talking a spiritual talk and they think, this is very nice. That's rationalization. Well, rationalization means rational lies. So rationally, logically, people are presenting some lies in this manner, and they forget that Lord Krishna himself says, Antakale chamameva smaran muktva kalevaram yah prayati samadbhavam yati nastatra samshaya. Antakale samave, at the last moment of life, smaran muktva kalevaram, smaran mukta, one who remembers me. Now, remembrance is an activity of mind. It's not an activity of intelligence. Intelligence deals with logic. It's not an activity of any of the limbs. It's the activity of the mind. And one who is only meditating at the last moment on the Supreme Personality of Godhead will attain him, and there is no doubt. Samshaya. And so Ajamil was, he realized when he saw the conversation, he heard that the Vishnu Dutas are giving transcendental knowledge, the spiritual laws are being described, and same thing is being further attested by Yamraj when they went to Yamlok. Now, everyone is afraid of Yamraj. Yeah, because at the end of life, the judgment comes, right? You did all these sins and you will be punished. But in reality, it's a correction facility. And Yamraj has a brother whose name is Shani or Shanishchat. And he is even better than his brother Yamraj because he helps us discipline ourselves in this very life. I would say lucky are those people who have effect of Saturn in their timings, because Saturn is there to discipline us so that we can live. And the best way, sometimes people are so much working on pacifying the Navgrahas. If you really want to pacify the Navgrahas, all you have to do is follow the simple principles as laid down by the Acharyas as per the instruction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Follow the four regulatory principles, take to the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, religion is defined by the divine, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's not man-made. Sometimes we see, yes, the laws have been made and they're more like regulations, but true regulations that we follow are the four regulatory principles. And E in real is even the exalted are limited. Even the great personalities like the sages, the demigods, the celestial beings, they cannot understand divine laws. Why? Because they may be engaged in Vedic rituals. So that is also an important aspect that we have to understand, that there are people who are, even on a higher platform, they're just doing things because it is said that this should be done. But when one knows why it is to be done, then actually it has much more impact. Then there is a purpose behind doing something, an attraction in doing something, and then there is a desire to do it nicely when you understand why and how it is going to benefit us. Well, this is very important. Again, coming back to the acronym REAL, R is for religion defined by the divine. And today we are hearing that Dharmam tu Sakshat Bhagavad Pranitam. So the real religious principles are laid down, the laws have been laid down by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And all of the things that we do should be in relation to these real, religious principles as laid down in Bhagavad Gita and then further elaborated in Bhagavatam. That is very important. What is in Bhagavad Gita and how it has to be done is very nicely described in Bhagavatam. So sometimes people say, how can we understand this? Well, this is very clear that even great personalities like the sages and others, when they try to create the laws by their own understanding, they may miss the boat, right? We have example of Shukracharya. He's a great Pandit. Shukracharya is the spiritual master of the demigods. Yet at the same time, when Vali Maharaj was ready to give the, promise, the 3 steps of land to Vamandev, when Vamandev appeared on his, at the bank of Narbada River to ask for 3 steps of land, Vali Maharaj wanted to give. Shukracharya said, no, this is Vishnu. If you give him, then he will take away everything. So he said, oh, if it is Vishnu, everything belongs to him already. So I must give it to him. That was Bali Maharaj's thought. But Shukracharya thought, but if he gives up everything, I was supposed to get so much benefit, the material riches. Now I won't get all those riches. So in that mindset, with that motivation in mind, Shukracharya said, even if you try to give it, you will not be able to fulfill the promise. Yes, Bali Maharaj was tested on this as well. Yet he made the promise because he was giving it in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His action was completely aligned by the Supreme Will, with the Supreme Will. And so Bali Maharaj promised. In first step, he took the whole earth. Vamandev, he became Trivikrama form, great giant form. First step, he covered the whole earth. Second step, he went to the end of the universe. And that's how Ganges came from the Vija river. And he said, where do I put my third step? Bali Maharaj was, bound in Nagpash, the Varun's, again, Garun eye, he came and he bound Bali Maharaj. And he was thrown in a dungeon. So in Bhagavatam, everything is very summarized. But if you read Padma Purana and Vishnu Purana, these events are elaborated. And while in dungeon, complete in dark place, and he was not even fed properly, he was thinking that, Indra is not very intelligent. He understood that Indra did all this to gain all the universe, the heavenly planets back from me. But he said, Indra is not very intelligent. And then he thought, what about Indra? Even Brihaspati, his spiritual master, is not very intelligent. And he was thinking in this way. Everyone else was thinking that Bali Maharaj was not very intelligent. Bali Maharaj is thinking that all these people who are thinking I'm not very intelligent are actually not very intelligent. Why? Because they are not able to understand the relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how that we should be offering every best thing to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And so when given the chance, he was brought back in front of Vamandev and he said, my dear Lord, you can place your third step on my head because the body still belongs to me. Because they were punishing the body. That means they were feeling they were punishing Bali Maharaj. So that was the reason. Otherwise, people could have said, wait a minute, the body you have is being granted to you by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So you're not the owner of the body. But they were punishing the bodies, which proved that he was right in his statement. So here we have to understand that A is for accept transcendental authority. We have to align our actions with the supreme desire, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna's desire. That is an alignment. And sometimes in this world, how do we understand that? For that, Lord has provided us so many sources. Sadhu, Guru, and Shastra, those are 3 references. And in our society, we have even better arrangements. We have so many mentors, so many coaches, so many guides who carry out preaching and help us understand by proper study of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is something we can take to our heart very nicely. And now, as we understand that yes, when we accept transcendental authority, then only the true religious principle must be accepted from Krishna or his representative. And L is for live the life of loving surrender. So it is not surrender that someone is forcing you. Lovingly, one is surrender. That's the highest dharma, is loving surrender unto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Now we see that there are 9 processes of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Arjanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam. There are different personalities who are glorified to have attained perfection. Even in one of these processes, Shravanam is hearing about the Supreme Personality of God, his name, form, activities, pastime. Kirtanam, singing, glorifying the Supreme Personality of God, that his name, form, activities, pastimes. Smaranam, always remembering Krishna. And those who are smart, smartavyo satatam Vishnu, vismartavyo na jatu chit, sarve nishi videshu etayore vakankara. So again, we call it a smart mantra that we should always remember. Smartavyo satatam Vishnu, always remember Krishna. Vismartavyo na jatu chit, never forget Krishna. Sarve vidhi nishedasur etayore vakankara. All the rules and regulations are just subservient to these 2 principles. So Shravanam example is given of Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj, he heard Bhagavatam, and so he attained perfection. We hear Shukdev Goswami, he perfected the preaching. He spoke Srimadbhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj, and then he attained perfection just by glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prahlad Maharaj, by remembering, he attained perfection. Smaranam Pada Sevanam. Goddess Lakshmi attained perfection by serving the lotus feet of the Lord. So it's not just that she is pressing the lotus feet. Yes, we always see that Lord is lying, Lord Vishnu, on Ananta Shesh, and she is pressing his lotus feet. But she is carrying out all his activities. And Rukmini Devi, once again, Dwarka, is also sometimes referred to as the goddess of fortune. And she is carrying out all kinds of activities. She is sometimes using charmer to fan Lord Krishna, presenting him with different kind of foodstuffs, taking care of him when he's taking bath, clothing him properly, taking care of all the activities around him. They had hundreds of servants, the queens at Dwarka, but the queens would themselves, Krishna's queens, would like to serve him directly by themselves, not asking servant, go and do this or go and do that. That is not the way, because we have to serve. We pray, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, my dear Lord, my dear Mother Radha, please engage me in your devotional service. So that should be our attitude. When service comes our way, we should be directly engaged in those activities. But there is a tendency of people not having that true realization that devotional service is a privilege, it is not a right. It's not easily presented to us. So after great activities in our very past lives, that we have come to the stage that we are able to perform or get opportunity to engage in devotional service. And we should look at that as a great opportunity to engage, instead of saying, oh, you do this devotional service. Okay, I'm chanting. Or you go and do this devotional service. So I'm chanting. Okay, why are you disturbing? I'm chanting. Give it to someone else. No, that should not be the attitude. But sometimes we see people doing, right? It should be like the first thing. Srila Prabhupada, he once asked, a disciple came to him. He said, Srila Prabhupada said, are you chanting? He's like, Srila Prabhupada, I'm so busy throughout the day. I'm not getting time to chant. Srila Prabhupada said, if you're busy in devotional service 24/7, there is no need to chant. At another occasion, another disciple came. He said, Srila Prabhupada, I'm so engaged in so many activities, I don't have time to chant. Srila Prabhupada said, do you get time to sleep? He said, yes. A big mistake. Srila Prabhupada immediately said, sleep less and chant. So again, spiritual master, when they are engaging with us, they know our heart. The mentors, the coaches, the preachers, they know our heart and they understand when we approach them. They can see through things because they have been blessed by reading Srimad Bhagavatam to understand the circumstances one may be under and accordingly respond. Yes, compassionately. Sometimes we see the preachers have to give some very strong instruction. Srila Prabhupada, in his books, is very strong. But in his personal dealing, face-to-face interaction, he's very soft. He's very compassionate and with very, he's showing empathy and love in his interactions. That is so something that we should understand. That yes, we may be strong, and Srila Prabhupada used to say, you should be like lion outside, but lamb at home. At home, we should be loving with people we are interacting because happiness comes from relationships. And to be able to have very nice relationships, we have to understand that true relationship is our relationship with Krishna. And because everyone is related with Krishna, we should be very affectionate and very loving with others. Yet at the same time, we should not try to bend the rules around those. Sometimes there are even discussions. 4 regulatory principles are very difficult for people to follow. Maybe we should have 3 principles and let people choose which 3 principles. No, that is again rationalization. Rationalize. So we have to follow things fully as they have been given. Sometimes people give this example that Srila Prabhupada wrote very nicely in Bhagavad Gita when Lord Krishna is saying that, asking Arjuna, and Arjuna is saying, Mana Chanchala Krishna. This mind is very flickering. It's like a crazy monkey and it is very troublesome and it's never stable at one point. People say, oh, yes, he's saying it, so it should be so and so. But what does Lord Krishna say after that? Lord Krishna is clearly revealing that by practice, by discipline, one can control the mind. And that's what we have to do. Sometimes when we are chanting, our mind wanders away. That's the tendency of the mind. It has been doing that for so many millions of lives, not millions of days, millions of lives. What can we say for a little moment? Yes, mind is flickering, but we have to bring it back. Keep practicing, bring it back, focusing on Shri Radha Krishna, focusing on my dear Lord, my dear Mother Radhe, please engage me in your devotional service. And then, of course, we'll be blessed by the divine blessings, by the divine grace, and we'll get, again, more engagement in devotional service. So today we are covering in this gems from Srimad Bhagavatam, these verses. And Srimad Bhagavatam, who is it written for? Sometimes people say it was written 5,000 years ago. It doesn't really apply because in materialistic mind, Krishna consciousness is very difficult. But in simple-minded person, Krishna consciousness is very simple. Srila Prabhupada had a very common face. What is the difficulty? Right? And today we see people giving the excuse, we don't have time. Well, Lord Krishna says, time I am. So you decide how you want to spend the time. Do you want to spend the time loving Krishna or fearing Krishna in the form of Maya? Time I am the devourer of all things, Lord Krishna says. So it is up to us how we are dealing. So our dealings with Krishna, again, today in this particular chapter, we hear about the real religious principles. And those who are rasikas, who have attraction to Bhagavatam, who have attraction to understanding what is right and what is wrong, and who have attraction to understand what Lord Krishna is saying, who love Lord Krishna and everything that relates with Lord Krishna. In reality, there's nothing that does not relate. But when we put ourselves in the center, that's where the link is broken. We have to put Krishna in the center. Otherwise, we'll fail to understand that this Bhagavatam is written for all the rasikas, all the great lovers. Nigama kalpato galitam phalam shukamukadam ritidravi samyutam pibata bhagavatam rasam malayam muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavukaha nigama kalpataro galitam. So this Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit of the Vedic tree. So again, if there is a spiritual tree, the ripened fruit of that, and of course, example given is of mango, right? Mango is the king of fruits. And Shukamukadamritadavisamata. And that Shukka Goswami, he's reciting Bhagavatam. So just like when a parrot takes a bite from a mango and becomes even more, because a parrot will only take a bite from a sweet mango, it even becomes more sweet. It's sweeter and sweeter as it goes. And when we see a normal mango, what do we see? It has a peel. But this pulp, this fruit from the this Vedic tree does not have any peel. And mango also has the seed in it, which takes up major space. But this one doesn't have this spiritual, Bhagavatam, as it's giving it in the analogy. Fruit doesn't have anything that's wasteful, no seed, means again, everything. Chukamukata Amrita Dravya Samvitam. So it is like a juice of Pibata Bhagavatam Rasam Malim. So Muhuraho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavuka. So all the Rasikas, all the lovers of Krishna, all the lovers, they should come. So if you understand that you can relate with a loving feeling, with emotions of compassion, empathy, caring, and then of course you will be attracted towards Bhagavatam. And you can understand that yes, it is not that what we are doing as a regular thing. And again, Vedvadarata, that's something we should be aware of that they are following various rituals, but they're missing out the purpose behind those rituals. What is the purpose? Vedescha sarver aham eva vedya. Lord Krishna says that through the Vedas, I am to be known. So Lord Krishna is to be known. So we want to know Lord Krishna through the Vedas, not just stay with the Vedas as what Vedas say. And when we do it in that manner, then truly we get the proper understanding even in tough times. And we understand, yes, we have to perform our prescribed duties based on Varnashram Dharma, along in alignment with the spiritual desire, the spiritual will. And that alignment is very necessary for us to make progress. Dharma sunishtita pumsam vishvakshena kathasuya na utpadyate yadi ratim shram eva hi kevala. So when we do various activities, we should always relate to them. How is this activity enabling me to serve Krishna? Because if it's not, then it is shram eva hi kevala. Dharma sunishtita pumsam vishvakshena kathasuya. So the religion is oriented towards serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, if it does not develop attraction in our heart towards Lord Krishna, then it is useless labor. So when we understand from that perspective, we realize that yes, in this particular verse, so many amazing aspects have been revealed. That dharma is directly established by Bhagwan, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not by any other. And this law, the spiritual laws that have been established by Krishna, they are very simple to follow for a simple-minded person. That's why innocent people, when they come to Krishna consciousness, they immediately start progressing. But then sometimes someone may have their own personal agendas, and that's where the hurdle starts. When people they come with personal motivation, that's where the trouble begins for them. We were hearing about something very interesting that, yes, in this material world, there are miseries. So yes, when we are in material consciousness, there are miseries we'll see. When we are spiritual consciousness, those miseries appear like blessings. Let me give you an example. How can miseries be like blessings? So we perform some activities in our past births or maybe in the past times where some sinful activity happened or some mistakes happen. And because of that, some miseries come our way. So these miseries are from the external perspective. From material perspective, a person is saying, oh, my dear Lord, I love you, and why are you giving me all these miseries? And they try to blame Lord Krishna. Devotees, on the other hand, says, oh, my dear Lord Krishna, you're so merciful. My hand was supposed to be cut, but you gave me a small scratch. That's it. And I'm so thankful that you're passing through all these karmas so that I can come closer to you. They're grateful to the messengers of their karmas, the past karmas. So from that perspective, a devotee can see everyone as different. And that's what Lord Krishna says. Suhridam Sarva Bhutana. He's the best friend of every living entity. So that's how when Lord is best friend of every living entity, the devotee becomes the best friend of every living entity in the same manner. And that's why the dealing has to be with love. And sweet dealings helps us enable and overcome the various hurdles that come in our life, to realize that we have to be grateful for everything that we are getting in our lives. Good things as well as bad things are just made distinctly made by the mind. But in reality, everything is good from the spiritual perspective. It is the material mindset that considers things as good and bad. How can I give you this example? Very simple. When we get sick, sometimes we have to go to the hospital and the doctor has to operate. When operation has to be performed, it is very troublesome, because our body will be cut, the parts will be, rectified and so forth. So it seems like, and then before and after, there's a lot of pain, and all the journey and everything looks like troublesome. But in reality, what is happening? We are getting benefited if we go with the flow. So this is something Devi and I, we were encountering, one of the days this week. Everything was happening in the wrong order. And we were just smiling through it. We are saying that we just have to go with the flow. Sometimes we only have so much control. And we were reminded of Srila Prabhupada. He had a beautiful interaction with Narayani Mataji. Grace, Narayani Mataji, she was sharing that she was talking about there's so many difficulties in life and how to act and how to deal with them. Srila Prabhupada gave us the example, if you fall down, if in the middle of an ocean and the waves are hitting you, are you going to say, oh, waves, you stop. I'm a devotee. I'm going to meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No, that's the nature of the waves. They will flow and you'll be hit by the waves. But we have to carry out our activities to swim towards the shores, to swim towards our goal. And that particular effort is in the form of a diet and the medicine. The medicine is Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So when we look at life from these perspectives, then we realize that life is so simple. Yet at the same time, it is simple when we carry out our duties properly. Srila Prabhupada, he makes this message very clear in the purpose, saying that Lord Krishna didn't ask Arjun, to just, you want to beg and go, that's fine. No, he said, Mamma Ismaran Yuddhacha, you're a Kshatriya, you'll be engaged in fight. So remembering me, fight. So that way there is a link with Krishna. And Arjun fought that way. But did he always have that remembrance? Even he was challenged. So yes, we should not look at the challenges that come our way. We should look at what is the best we can do. Srila Prabhupada also shares a very short story of a dancer. He had gone to dance in a program, and next day his friend asked, oh, how did your performance go? It's like, no, I couldn't dance. The ground was, not leveled. So I couldn't dance properly. Srila Prabhupada says, as an insight to that, is it doesn't matter what the external situation is. We should perform our activities completely with full surrender and completely depend on Lord Krishna's mercy. Sometimes we see devotees that glorify each other by saying, oh, you did so great, you did so great. In reality, they are glorifying that Lord Krishna has special mercy on you. By Bhagavatam is a book written exactly by Sanatana Goswami on this, that Devashinara is going around to find out who is the most fortunate devotee who has received special blessings from Lord Krishna. And he travels, from Prayag to all the way to heavenly planets over to Dwarka and finally to, a place where Lord Brahma has created, like in a picturesque manner, Vrindavan. It's a pseudo Vrindavan, but it is to show that who are the luckiest people who have received the benediction. And sometimes luckiest people means they are the most surrendered souls. So today, my dear devotees, we are focusing on this particular verse. We understand that all laws are meant to purify us, and we have to make an effort to understand them. Sometimes people say, how can we serve? Atiti Devo Bhava. So in material life, grihasthas, we also have responsibilities. And when grihasthas are carrying out responsibility, once Srila Prabhupada, they had just married a couple, and next day the husband was asking Srila Prabhupada, what's the duty of a grihastha? Srila Prabhupada said, every time before you are eating the meal, you should open the door and ask, is there anyone hungry here? We are serving prasadam. You are welcome to join us and have food with us. And the husband was not very satisfied. While returning back from the morning walk, he asked the same question, and Srila Prabhupada gave the same answer. So sometimes even small acts can be done, right? So sometimes even couples, we have seen that they argued about the right way to pray. And at that time, we can very well cook for the deities, offer it to the deities, and offer it to a hungry guest. When you offer it to a guest, offer it to a hungry person, the person blesses them, the couple. And prayer return naturally. So again, the right way to pray is the right way to serve, the right way to surrender. So service resets the heart faster than debates. If we can keep talking and talking and talking, and mind has this capability of rationalizing it and making a mountain out of a mole. But if we simply follow the instructions, simple living, higher thinking, those are the principles we have to carry out. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So this is something I wanted to share today from this particular verse, where it's so nicely discussed. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranita. So the real religious principles are enacted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And even the great personalities in this universe may not be able to understand, because they may be driven by some other motivations than keeping Krishna in the center. So as practical tips, what can we do? We can look at how we, before acting out, how are we carrying out? So if we are traveling to work, we can think about, okay, I'm going to work today. How can I use this service by serving Krishna? How can I relate with Krishna? So we can be responsible drivers. We can be responsible interactors as we are interacting with others. We can be responsible person. And at work, we should give our best ability. And my dear Lord, I'm doing this service as an offering to you. Carry out our duties nicely and be soft. It doesn't matter if someone is speaking harshly with you, if someone is trying to show you down, if someone is trying to take away what you have. But in reality, because at the end of the day, everything belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. And He's our Supreme Father. That doesn't mean that everything is ours, but it actually helps us situate ourselves properly so that in tough situations, we still shine. There is a saying, Din Duni Raat Chauguni. We make progress, devotees especially make progress twice during the day, but during the tough times, they make twice of that twice. So again, 4 times the progress than general people. So that should be our thought, that the more things, doesn't matter what external circumstances are, that we have to stay surrendered. We have to chant with our heart. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and carry out our duties with full sincerity. Ishwar sarvabhutanam hrideshe jantishtati brahmin sarvabhutani yantrarudhani maya. Ishwar sarvabhutanam hrideshe jantishtati. Lord Krishna says, 1861 verse in Bhagavad Gita, that I am sitting in everyone's heart. And everyone is actually situated in this yantra rudhani. This material body is actually a machine. And when we have a machine, we have different capabilities provided by a machine. And when we have some facilities, including this body itself, like we saw the example of Bali Maharaj, we should carry it out in serving Krishna. Everything should be fully utilized and not be overcome by Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Man, Matsara, the negative emotions. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So this is where I wanted to bring today from as gems from Srimadbhagavatam, that we have to relate everything with Krishna. We have to connect with Krishna every time. Whatever activities we perform with mind, body, and senses, and understand that the supreme laws, the true laws, the spiritual laws are those they have been given by Lord Krishna. And what those are, they are given in Bhagavad Gita, and how they have to be enacted is given in Bhagavatam. So real religion is coming directly from Lord Krishna. It cannot be manufactured, not just human beings, even by the demigods. So when they are carrying out something, we and devotees have this tendency to ask for reference. Where is it coming from? Is it coming from the Vedas? But understand that Vedas also deal with the three modes of material nature. Nectar, Guna, Bhavarjuna. Lord Krishna says we have to rise above the Vedas. Kantra Srimadbhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhagavad ki jai, Ananta Kori Vaishnav ki jai, Nitaya Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Have a wonderful week in Krishna consciousness.